In this video, I'm going to show you an easy way to create Sigilism art in Adobe Photoshop.
Dreadlabs.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs and I'm a visual artist and graphic designer. I recently saw this amazing tutorial on how to create Sigilism art on Instagram. I figured I will show you how to do this on YouTube. I want to give a quick shout out to Vulgar Jargon on Instagram for inspiring me to do this tutorial. If you want to check out his work, there's a link in the description down below. And without any further ado, let's dive straight into the video. So we're here in Adobe Photoshop and I tested my technique right here, as you can see on the screen. If you want to download this one and the file that we're going to create during the video, you can download those in the link in the description down below. So the first thing that you want to do is find some organic textures. What I mean by organic textures is textures that have an organic flow in it. Let me just make a new composition right here, and let's make it 1920 pixels by 1920 pixels. So to give you an idea what I mean by organic textures is, let me just show you this pack right here that I have on my website. It's called Marble Paint Textures. You don't necessarily have to use these textures, but I'm just going to show you what I mean. So with organic flow, I mean these smooth movements that you can see throughout the texture. And of course, you can basically find this anywhere in the world. So I highly recommend, if you don't want to spend any money on textures, just go out and take pictures of random things with your camera phone and try to be creative. The first thing I'm going to do is go to View, Guides, New Guide Layout, and in my case I'm going to make 2 columns and rows without any width or gutter, just to divide my whole composition in 4s. And the next thing I want to do is I want to find a piece of this organic flow that I want to use and make symmetrical. I'm going to try and start with the top right corner here, and I'm gonna just place my thing in so that it looks, in my opinion, pretty cool. If you want, you can hold Command or Control on your keyboard and click on these endpoints to skew them, to give you maybe a little bit more of an interesting shape. And I think this is fine for now. And now what I want to do is select the top right square here with the selection button, click on the mask down below, and then rasterize my layer and apply the layer mask here. And now I just want to make a duplicate by pressing Ctrl or Command J on my keyboard. Press Ctrl T or Command T if you're on a Mac to bring up the transform settings. You want to hold Shift on your keyboard to make sure that it only moves in a specific axis, as you can see, and right click, flip horizontal to make this symmetrical. Now we want to make sure that we select both of these layers. We hold Command or Control on our keyboard to select both of them. And again, to duplicate them, press Ctrl or Command J on your keyboard, and then press Ctrl or Command T again to bring up the transform menu. Flip it vertically and move it down while holding the Shift button, and there we go. Now I want to right click on this, select all of these layers and merge them together. So now we want to select a specific color flowing through here, and I think I'm gonna go and try to select the orange colors in this texture. What I want to do is turn off contiguous and play around with the tolerance when I'm selecting stuff. Turning off of the contiguous option does is basically, if I turn it on and I select this orange piece, it only selects this piece. But if I turn it contiguous off, it basically selects all of the orange pieces in the composition or in the layer that you're selecting from. So I think this is fine for now. And with this selection, I'm going to click on the mask button again. And we have a pretty cool symmetrical tribal kind of form, I guess. So now what I want to do is remove the fill to 0. And as you can see, this makes our layer invisible. But now if we add a bevel and emboss, which you can do with the little FX button in the bottom right here, you can see that these are still visible in comparison to when you turn off the opacity, because then this will also be invisible. Let's lower the soften. Let's make this really, really deep. If you want to add some extra texture in there, you can also click on the texture button right here and just select a random one. I think the trees are default in Photoshop. And as you can see, if you lower the scale of that texture, you can play around with the depth a lot. That gives you some extra texture. This is with and this is without. I think for me, yeah, I'll just keep it in there, I guess. So the next thing you want to do if you want to create that real sigilism look, if that makes sense, is you want to have some organic textures. I know I already said organic textures, but in this case, I mean like textures with earthy, muted tones. These are all really, really vibrant, as you can see. So I have another pack on my website. It's called FILTH. You don't necessarily have to get this pack for yourself, but in my opinion, this is just just a texture pack that works really well with this style because it has these organic, really high definition textures of concrete, metal, like anything that I found on the street when I was just going on a walk basically. I feel like this one is just so dirty with that like yellow moss in there, I guess. So I'm just gonna go and scale this up and fit it to our background here and just move it to the back here. And as you can see, we're already really far ahead with that sigilism look. So you want to go to adjustments and I'm going to click a curves layer and I'm just going to basically add a little bit of contrast in there, maybe like with a little bit less brightness, just to make the background a little bit darker. And if you think it's too vibrant, what you can also do is grab this hue saturation adjustment layer and just lower the saturation a little bit. I think -30 does the trick in this case. We can delete this black background here, of course. So yeah, this is the first step towards your Sigilism artwork, and this is all the basics that there are to it. I'm going to show you a trick one more time with the textures, just to give you a better idea and also to add a little bit more detail to this artwork. And good thing to think about when you're doing these is, of course, you don't necessarily have to use these marble textures. You can basically use anything with some organic flow through there, but I just happen to have these for years on my computer. I haven't used them in a while, and that's why I chose to work with these textures. I think if we just grab this one, it's gonna like explain something that be worth talking about, because if I just scale this to the point of maybe here, again, we're gonna rasterize this and a mask of the top left here, apply that layer mask, press Control or Command J on my keyboard, flip it this way, and again, we're gonna merge these together. And the way you can also duplicate them is hold Alt or Option on your keyboard and then just move it down while holding Shift to never move anything. And now we can basically play around with, if we want to rotate this one 180 degrees. I think I want to do it the other way around. So rotate the bottom one. And this style is super forgiving and it really encourages you to experiment with the stuff like blend modes and stuff like that. So what you can also do is just basically see if this texture already works well with some blend modes. I think the pin light blend mode actually really does some dope stuff in here. I'm actually gonna leave this in here. Maybe if I make a duplicate for now by holding Alt or Option and dragging it in my layer menu, I'm gonna hide the top one for now. And with this pin light one, I actually am gonna go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation here, and lower the saturation just a little bit and maybe shift it a little bit more towards the magenta. So we have that nice yellow green magenta here. Let's unhide the texture that we initially had, and we're gonna do the selection thing one more time. I'm gonna keep my tolerance at 50 and turn off the contiguous like I said, and I'm gonna try to click on this light green color here. Maybe it's a little bit too much, so I'm gonna lower the tolerance to 50, and we're just gonna go and click on the mask again. If we hold Alt or Option, we can actually see inside this mask here, and as you can see, it's insanely detailed. So if you want to have a little bit more control over this and you kind of like don't want to have these like little bits going on, what you can do is go to Filter, Gaussian Blur, and let's do 3 pixels, and this kind of makes this all a little bit more blurry. As you can see, if we zoom in there, you can see it really well. This is before and this is after. And the next thing you want to go do is go to Adjustments and click on Levels. And if you slide in these black and white points together, you create some harsher edges, you smoothen out these like lines, I guess. But as you can see, you'll also get rid of some of the lighter spots that were in here. So yeah, the shape overall gets a little bit more clean, I guess, if that makes sense. So this is what we've done so far, and this is what it looked like in the beginning. So this will definitely like smoothen out a lot of your things in there. And of course, if you want to, you can also just grab your Photoshop brush and play around with the white and black brush and see if you want to paint in somewhere. A good tip for this is if you click on this butterfly button at the top, what you can do is click on dual axis right here and then click on the checkmark button. And if you start painting right now, you actually start painting in the same symmetry. So let's say that we want to make a couple of these lines disappear. What we can do is just switch our brush color to black and start painting it in. See, we now have like full control over where we are going to place this shape, and this is where you can get really creative with it. And rather than like let the experimentation do its thing, here you're gonna have full control over the Sigilism art that you are creating. So for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna leave it here. But of course, you can take your sweet time and create something that you really like. And again, I'm gonna just add a bevel and emboss to this in order to add some extra layers and maybe the texture. I'm gonna leave the textures out for now, and I'm gonna just make the shadow a little bit darker. And maybe something worth mentioning is because the lines are a little bit thinner on this one, I would recommend you to play around with the size of the bevel. As you can see, definitely here is where the lines are are a little bit thicker here, just right next to the box. And if you make them smaller, you can still see a lot of the fill and have this more subtle edge. But especially if you go higher, don't go like over 20 pixels because the lines are generally really thin in this style, of course, and that's when like the bevel starts looking a little bit odd. So yeah, maybe somewhere between 15 and 5 pixels is where you have your sweet spot, at least in the size of my composition, which is 1920 by 1920 pixels. So one more time, like if you just lower the opacity now, this all gets invisible. Let me just make it a little bit easier for you to see. So this is what it looks like if we lower the opacity now. It's invisible, but if we lower the fill, it will only leave that like bevel and emboss effect in there. It keeps the things a little bit cleaner because now you won't see the green texture in there, if that's something you'd want, of course. In my case, actually, I feel like I'm just gonna leave it there. But yeah, guys, there you have it. That's how to start out with Sigilism Art or Sigilism Art. I have no clue how to pronounce it. It's one of those things that I've only read anywhere. I've never seen anyone speak it out loud, so I hope this is not a Ted Mosby saying chameleon situation. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If this video helped you, please leave a like because that will actually help the channel out. And this goes without saying, but the more that this channel grows, the more free tutorials I will be able to create for you guys. And if you want to support me even further than that, please consider buying some of the asset packs on my web store. The marble paint textures and the FILTH textures that you saw in this video are available on my website, but you can also become a patron of mine. That will get you access to all of the PSD files, Illustrator files, and all of the other project files from all of my tutorials. And in addition to that, you'll also get a permanent 25% discount on all of the assets in my asset web store. So if this is something you're interested in, the link to all of that is in the description down below. And of course, if you create something using this tutorial, feel free to tag me on Instagram or join us on Discord to send it to me over there, because I would love to see what you create using this tutorial. With all of that being said, this is Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.